Patton. So Reverend Chris, one of our beloved and faithful colleagues and members, if I may say so, of Unity Center of Montreal, beloved, you are here. We are here with you. Thank you, Reverend Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Oh, I'm so glad to see all your happy, shining faces this morning. Let me welcome you into our Zoom room together, Dr. Maya and Sandra and Danielle, and there was someone else, I think, in the sanctuary. Welcome. I can't see you, but I see the beautiful plant. Good morning,
Donna.
Catherine. Pardon?
It's Donna.
Donna, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Marjorie. Good morning, Elise. Good to see you. And Gloria, and I think of you and your Gloria's grandson, and I think of Catherine's grandkids. And I imagine this, so it's summer here, you have your hands full having fun with them and they're out of school. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Susan. And good morning, William. Thanks for joining us. And good morning, Wilma. And Wilma, you can say in the chat your location. Are you on the island or are you in Montreal? And good morning, Rosemary from right here in North Carolina. And good morning, Derek. And good morning to all those who are with us in spirit and members of the congregation who are holding us in their hearts, even if they're not physically here. So I was really honored to be able to speak today and prepare us all for the solstice. As you know, I love celebrating the invitations that we have in what's called the Wheel of the Year, which are the two solstices and the two equinoxes, but also the times in between that are called cross quarters. So the last time we were together, we celebrated Beltane, or May Day, which is one of those cross-quarter times. And to me, they're invitations to go within and without, and sort of create a yearly cycle of rituals beyond like today's a special day, Father's Day, right? And a little earlier, we had Mother's Day in May. And of course, there's birthdays and we celebrate all kinds of things, Valentine's Day, all kinds of things. Plus there's national holidays celebrating various things. So this is another way that is a little bit more based on the earlier agricultural lifestyle. And the Wheel of the Year that I use is from the Celtic Druid tradition, the pagan tradition. But it doesn't really matter what the tradition is. They're just invitations that align with the seasons that we can apply to the seasons of our life and use as invitations to move forward. So the solstice coming up, the summer solstice, we'll be doing a whole celebration at our next Sunday gathering that I hope most of you will take part in. And usually we do readings and poems, and we take turns, and music, special music. And we'll still do that, but I would like to add an element of revisioning, because the woman who I've been spending a lot of time with her books, and when I was there last year, we took a deep dive with one of her books, Donna O'Driscoll. She created a Wheel of the Year for the 21st century, and she created words like restore, revitalization. They all start with R. And the summer solstice focus is revisioning. And I think this is a beautiful time for revisioning because we have more light in our lives from the long days of summer. And the solstice is the longest day of the year. So we have more light to support us in powering up, getting clarity, and stepping forward and stepping out with the solstice energy into a new vision of ourselves, our relationships, and communities that we're in, and maybe even the world, depending how far out you want to go. So that's what today is about, is preparing ourselves and beginning a revisioning process. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to walk you through a couple of exercises. But before we get into that, I would like you to just get a piece of note paper or your journal if you have it handy, And I want to ask you a question. I want you to write down the answer, because at the end, you're going to write down some more, and it'll give you something to compare to, right? So I want you to be able to capture something right now, and then in 20 minutes, capture something later on. So get a piece of paper, Post-it note, your journal, whatever you have, and a pen. Get ready for a question. Those on camera are back. So here's your question today. This is revisioning with the energy of the solstice. What comes to your mind or your heart right now? We'll just take a little pause, take a deep breath. What comes up for you as the initial impulse for revisioning? What comes to your mind? I just jot it down. You don't need a big statement or a goal or anything. Just write down a couple of words or one word. You know, for me, you know, I lost a lot of weight. The last time you guys saw me, I was still on my weight loss journey, and I need to pay more attention to my food and my eating, or that's going to come right back on. So that's what initially comes to me, is pay more attention to my food. So it could be something very simple. So just make a little note. And then I'd like to read you something. This is a card that my friend gave me for the opening of my weaving studio that's now part of what's called the Riverside Collective. You can go look at it. You can look us up. We have a website, Riverside Collective. I think it's .org. Riverside Collective LLC.org, I believe, is the website. And it's 5 women. I'm the elder. They're all younger than me, and 3 of them have children under 10. As young as 3. And they're doing their craft. The 3 visual artists, painters. And then there's a leather architect who makes beautiful bags. She's been doing it for 13 years. And then there's me, and I'm finally doing my love, which is weaving. And then on the opening day in mid-April, my friend gave me this card that has a quote on it. And I'll just read this to you. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what you get out of, it will decide what gets you out of bed in the mornings, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, who you know, who breaks your heart, and what amazes you. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. So maybe we can use those words of falling in love for our inspiration. But let's start with some music. And I will share my screen.
You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest. You're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love. You're my hands, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug. You're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun. You're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter. You're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father. You're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround. I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere and the clouds. You're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow. You're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss. The gift to realize that
all that I am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing.
purpose, everything will feel gorgeous.
All that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all.
Every day I sit and pray, cause what I have is more than I deserve or could ever imagine. How do I give back to all of this magic and spread the love so everybody can have it? Doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor, if I got a family or if I'm all alone. Bad things happen, I can just complain and moan, but there's a million things that I can be grateful for.
So I lift up my hands now, and I open my heart, and my gratitude goes out to everything near and far. All that I am, all that I see,
Everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss, the gift to realize that everything is a gift.
How did that feel? I hope that set a good tone. So before we move into more revisioning, we want to kind of prepare the soil. And I would like to start with the idea of being humble, and not the put down, like you should be humble, but the way of being that's really just about mature spirituality, mature ways of being. So let me share with you some quotes. So Eckhart Tolle, one of his quotes about humility is, true humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Because humility involves shifting our focus away from our self-centeredness, like I need to pay attention to my food, which is crucial for our spiritual development and for the human process that Ken Wilber calls growing up. He thinks that he's got this model that I've been looking at. There's waking up and there's growing up. And he says, waking up, all spiritual traditions talk about, right? Enlightenment or ascension, for example. But there's an aspect of growing up, our own maturity as human beings, our ability to put ourselves in the shoes of others, the ability to have compassion and empathy. That's all about growing up. And that's in our world religions as well. That it's these two things together, our spiritual waking up, but also our personal growing up and dealing with our egos. And it's really about making our I into bigger and bigger and bigger circles. There's I, my individual self. There's we as my family and my community. And then there's we and us and I in the all of humanity. And then there's an even bigger circle. I hear a lot of people talking about all sentient beings, and I like to extend that to all beings, because who's to judge what's sentient or not? We don't know. And in my shamanic practice, everything, even man-made objects, have a consciousness, because everything's made of energy. There's some creative intelligence in everything. So, you know, how big is our I? How big is our we? How big is our us? And that's growing up. That's what growing up is about. Thich Nhat Hanh's quote about humility is that it's the absence of the need to be more than you are. Humility is the absence of the need to be more than you are. So that's really a message about accepting ourself fully as we are, our authentic self, not striving for superiority, and really focusing on accepting us as we are. Not trying to be something else, not trying to put on a suit of clothes, right? Before I retired, I was really good at putting on a certain suit of clothes, and that was what led to my success in my career. But I haven't had to put on that suit for more than a year, and I'm ready to give it away to the Goodwill. Give that suit to somebody else. We all have suits in our lives. They create their roles. And sometimes they're a little tight and uncomfortable, sometimes they're not, but they serve a purpose for us to be in certain contexts successfully. We wear different suits. So we might have a closet full of them that we can put on. Inside there is our authentic self. As long as we know who that is, we can put those suits on, but it is a lot more fun living without the suit at all. And that's also part of growing up. But it's also part of humility, because, you know, if we're not going to be wearing a suit, we really got to laugh at ourselves, right? The funny parts that we would prefer to cover up, but we know they're there. We know other people can see them. We just got to not take ourselves so seriously. Easier said than done. So humility is part of what comes from our learning journey in this life. It comes from our deep knowing of ourselves and our deep maturity. And this is fundamentally a process of changing our identity from self-centered to those wider and wider levels of other-centered, the bigger and bigger circles. From the other being myself and my family and my special group, or my, my tribe, to the whole world of people and all beings, and even beyond the earth to the cosmos. So this is the definition that I'm using of humility, so that we can tap into that as part of our revisioning process. So think in your life, who are some role models of humility that you know? It could be someone from your family, someone else, or it could be someone that you admire. Let me give you a few examples. So what about Jane Goodall? She's very humble. I had a friend that actually met her at the airport a few years ago. She was just traveling like everybody else, sitting in the waiting area of the gate before she got on the plane. And she was with like an assistant or something. And she just was very approachable and seemed like just a normal person. So my friend just walked up to her and said, you know, started a conversation. And Jane Goodall had a little conversation with her. Oh my gosh. Anyway, she's known for her respect for all life forms and sharing that message that we're all interconnected with all living beings. And one of her quotes is, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." So that's from Jane Goodall. What kind of difference do you want to make? And then here's another one. What about Fred Rogers? Remember Mr. Rogers, the PBS show for kids that was on for decades? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? He said there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. And the third way is to be kind. That just sounds like a Mr. Rogers. So I could just see him saying that. I used to watch that show, and so did my kids. And then here's another one, Nelson Mandela. He's known for his reconciliation and his deep, deep forgiveness. And a quote that he said it was, "I stand here before you not as your prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. I stand before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people." And there's a whole type of leadership that's called servant leadership. that has been growing and growing, becoming the model of leadership in corporations, little by little. And that's where you're the humble servant of your organization as the CEO or the president. You're not the command and control type from the industrial era. I'd like you to use use the chat, if you would, and type in the names of one or more people who are your role models. They don't have to be stars or authors that we would all know, but it could just be someone close to you, a family member. I would just love to connect and then read those out loud. So Claire put in Elise. All right. Gloria says her mom. And if putting it in the chat is too hard, go ahead and unmute and just say it out loud. That'll be just fine. Susan says, Sharon, my sister, was a role model. Oh, and I see Pauline has joined us. Hey, Pauline, would you like to share?
My mother's was definitely a role model.
Thank you for sharing that, Pauline. What was your mother's name?
Delia.
Dahlia. Elise says, my uncle Jean, I don't know how to say that in French.
Jean-Yves.
Jean-Yves, thank you. Rosemary is putting her wife Nancy, yes. I've met Nancy, yes. Okay, anyone else want to share a role model for humility? Wilma says her friend Johnson Arewe. I know I'm not saying that correctly. Feel free, Wilma, to unmute if you'd like to give voice to your friend.
My grandmother, Rosie.
Maya's grandmother, Rosie.
You
Claire said,
pronounced it correctly.
I pronounced it correctly?
Yes, you did, Arime.
Wonderful. Thank you for affirming that. And Claire is acknowledging a politician who biked in shorts with her yesterday. Oh, wow. So that there are lots of models of being humble and of humility. And again, it's not the put down, like as some of you have probably heard, you should be more humble is more of a, that could be used in a context that limits people and is meant to put them down. And that is not what we're talking about here. So I'm just so glad that there are so many beautiful, beautiful examples. Another way of thinking about coming from a place of humility, especially in a revisioning process, is to think about those suits, those roles that I mentioned, and to kind of do an inventory of them and recognize that we're not that. That's just a suit that we put on, where there's lots of things we are not. And I'm going to do a little meditation now with you, a guided meditation, where you can just follow my voice to relax. And this is the I'm not that meditation. Just tune in and close your eyes, put down anything that's in your hands. Take a deep breath. Just relax into your seat. Take another deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth to signal the body to just let go for a few minutes. Put aside your to-do list. Save that for later. As you relax and bring your awareness to the present moment, you might want to pretend you're listening to a sound far away. Just pretend you're listening to a sound on a mountaintop far away. And with your next breath, come back into this present moment where we're here together in our sanctuary. And while you continue breathing, see if you can bring your sensation of breathing down to your heart area. It might help to put your hand there gently. It might help to picture your nose or your mouth actually located in your heart, and see if you can change your awareness of your breath to actually sense it coming from your heart. Now let's begin noticing our thoughts. What shows up, what arises, whatever it is, just respond, acknowledge, and by saying, I'm not that. Thoughts like, I'm stressed, might show up, and just say, I'm not that. Things, roles like I'm a parent, or a sister, or a mother, or a father, a brother. When those roles come up, again, just say, I'm not that. Judgments might come up, like I'm successful. I'm not that. Or I'm a failure. I'm not that. Notice each one that comes up, each thought or a label or a suit, a role. Just see what comes up without trying to change it or judge it. Just mentally say to yourself, I'm not that. And continue this process with each thought that arises. As you repeat, I'm not that, allow yourself to sink deeper into the awareness of your true self. Your true self, which is beyond your thoughts and roles and identities. Focus instead on the presence that remains, your presence that remains when you disidentify with these thoughts and labels and feelings. I'm not that. I'm not that. When you feel ready, set an intention to bring back into our sanctuary space together that presence, that awareness of your presence, the I'm not that presence. With your next breath, I invite you to return to our sanctuary here, holding that feeling of presence. Slowly open your eyes. And maybe take a note of what that presence feels like. And now I will ask you, what is your revision that you want to take into the future now? using the power and light of the summer solstice. From this place of presence and awareness of humility, what do you want to take forward in your relationships? And how big is the circle? Your family, your tribe, your community, your country, all beings, the cosmos. You choose. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, make a few notes. And I'm going to share my screen and share a little movie to wrap up our experience together. And this is from the film called Human. And Dr. Maya, if you can stop the recording, I'm going to play the movie and then we'll come back together.